It seems like Elden Ring has been beaten almost in every way imaginable, so this is me throwing in my 2 cents. Hi, I'm Fat Exile, and I play video games in very stupid ways, and this is how I beat Elden Ring without looting, and made an incredibly stupid video about it. The rules for this playthrough is pretty simple. I am not allowed to loot, pick up or take any items. However, I am allowed to use everything I can get my hands on, such as rewards from NPCs, things I can purchase, drops from teardrop scarabs, or items that are awarded from defeating bosses. Because this video was intended to go out around Christmas, I've also allowed myself to make use of online items, such as bloody fingers and fur-calling finger remedies.
Bring out the
fur-calling finger remedies.
Of course I'm not allowing myself to craft any fur-calling finger remedies, but I am allowing myself to use the few of them I can get my hands on. Hello? So if that's not your thing, I would much rather scare you away right from the start rather than wasting your time. I'd also like you to know that this playthrough is based off of one thing, that you don't need to pick up any key items in order to beat the game. And just for the fun of it, I chose to do as Philip DeFranco and jump right into it, meaning no prep work or research beforehand. Granted, I did some research along the way, but I also did a lot of mistakes along the way, and I've included them in this video. So you can laugh at my expense, and if you feel like you're a bad Elden Ring player, hopefully this video will make you feel better. But regardless of skill level, sit back, relax and prepare to kill some brain cells. I started this journey by creating a bandit character for fashion reasons, and my keepsake was a golden seed for obvious reasons. The early game is fairly easy. I helped Alexander, I met up with Rani, I got Torrent, and then I completely forgot that I cannot pick up the wondrous flask of physics. I traveled to Caelid, grabbed this side of Grace, I will come back to it later. I proceeded to encounter the Knight's Cavalry. He drops a decent amount of rooms and it's pretty easy to kite him off the ledge right here, next to the bridge. Unless you're a femme fat exile, in which case, this is what's gonna happen.
Maybe he's still okay. No, really, they say the last thing you do before you die is crap your... Oh, never mind.
Leave a like and subscribe for more quality content. As I was saying, I traveled to Caelid to gain some runes because there's plenty of them over here. I don't get it. Why hasn't this been patched out yet? When I got to the round table hold, I talked to Brother Corhin, then I purchased heal and fire sling. That way I gained a bit more sustainability. Remember, I'm not allowed to pick up any sacred tears or golden seeds. My next destination is the Weeping Peninsula, because there's a merchant there who sells smithing stones.
In case you fail to realize.
NPCs in this game only sell smithing stones 1 and 2, so unless you actually pick up the bell bearings, you won't be able to purchase smithing stones 3 or 4. What's even worse is the fact that there's only 2 seals I can use, and they both use smithing stones, so that's fun. At least I can upgrade my weapon to +1, so that's absolutely nothing. Next I travel to Liurnia of the Lakes because there's merchants here who sells even more smithing stones. Plus, it's all about covering some ground, baby. I'll come back to this guy later on. And speaking of coming back to enemies, I'll return to this giant wet fart to get my revenge, because this guy is an easy kill, he grants a decent amount of runes, and he also drops the Bloodhound Step, which will become a very, very handy tool throughout this run. And I'll gladly admit that I think the entire endgame of Elden Ring have some balancing issues, regardless of however you choose to play through Elden Ring. And I think Bloodhound Step is a great tool to negate some of those issues. And as you can see, I got what I came for, cause I'm a filthy, cheesy casual. I've spent most of the runes I got so I could purchase smithing stones instead of leveling up. I added Bloodhound Step to my weapon, and now I have to go out and find another weapon which I can actually kill with. And I know exactly where to go. I encountered this guy on my journey, asked him for a favor, and then he actually helped me, which was awesome, because I got the Reduvia, and I know exactly what to do next. And that is to meet up with Ichi, upgrade my weapon, and start killing things. I actually upgraded my weapon to +4, So now it's time to face off against Margit.
Oh no. It's General Radahn and his mighty
And
weapon.
Margit is a boss that can seem overwhelming if you're a new player, but he becomes quite easy once you've beaten him enough times. And when you know what you're doing, a Reduvia +4 is more than enough to take him out. But I also opted to use the Lone Wolf Ashes because this is one of the few instances where From Software gives us good boys instead of bad boys. Sorta like throwing us a bone, if you will. And I don't think that should go unappreciated.
I am glad you're unable to kick me. Because you stepped in shit before entering this arena.
And after dealing with Margit the comedian, I ran straight into Stormvale Castle. But for the time being I'm only going to grab some graces, because before I deal with Godric there's some stuff I want to do first. I wanted to take down the Tibia Marina and Limgrave, because he drops a death root, and with that I can get the Clawmark seal, hoping that it would be better than the Sacred seal I already have. But spoiler alert, under these circumstances it's not. Because the seals can only be upgraded to +6, it's not enough for the scaling on the Clawmark seal to actually be better than the Sacred seal. But I can live with that, it just means my spell scaling will be really bad. But more importantly, when you hand in 3 death roots to the Beast Clergyman, you get Bestial Vitality, and it does not scale on faith or seals or anything. Yeah, sure, you can use a talisman to extend the duration so you heal more, but that's not an option here, and that's beside the point. It's just a fixed amount, no matter how bad the scaling on my seal is. I also snagged myself the Flamedrake talisman, which is found in Growside Cave when you defeat the boss in there, just to at least have one talisman. Plus it might be helpful against Godric's second phase. I also ran partially through the Rune-strewn precipice, because even from Ichi it is still quite a distance to traverse. So yeah, I figured I might as well do it right away, since I'm not allowed to pick up any of the medallions. Around the halfway point I returned to a few vendors just so I could spend the remaining runes I had on some things that might come in handy for later, namely the hand lantern and some stone sword keys. And unfortunately it can get absolutely infuriating having to run through the rune-strewn precipice, especially with the bats and the poison here. Fortunately you can kite them around and climb the ladders, but for some reason the bats can't fly upwards. It doesn't make any sense, but I welcome it nonetheless. I returned to Caelid and finished off Grail for good. That way I have some dragon hearts I can purchase. Rotten Breath, Dragon Maw and Dragon Claw. I know in patch 1.07 that Rotten Breath got nerfed pretty hard, but it's still something I want to use. And now I have everything I need to take on Godric. And I'd like to say that I think Godric is a very enjoyable boss fight. And against Godric I made great use of Rotten Breath and the Reduvia. You don't really need that much else. I mean, he's not a difficult boss fight, but he's a very enjoyable boss fight. Are you done? And Godric's cutscene from the first to second phase is one of the most, if not the most, memorable cutscene in the entire game. I mean, he chops off his own arm, attacks a dragon head, then the dragon head comes alive and... Sorry, I didn't mean to say memorable, I meant insane. Buddy! I meant insane! I meant insane, buddy! Ah! Oh, shit! Okay, wow, I did not expect to get thrown into a jail cell just for saying a wrong word. So I guess while I'm stuck here, I'm just gonna tell you what happened next. So right after Godric, I returned back to the Rune-strewn precipice to face off against the magma worm, Anyway, the boss at the Rune-strewn precipice. Because when I get him out of the way, I gain access to Altus Plateau. I was hoping I could keep him rotted for the entire fight, but it turns out that was not possible, because I ran out of mana. But hey, no mana, no rot, no problem.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Truer words have never been spoken. With him out of the way, I finally have access to the Altus Plateau. And up here, there's a lot of very nice stuff, but also a lot of
Hi, I'm
very
Johnny
dangerous
Knoxville.
stuff.
Welcome to Jackass. Yeah!
If my character stands up, it means I survived the attack, right? I wanted to get the black blade from this black knife assassin, but in my quest of doing so, I accidentally stumbled upon a quest. What the fuck? I stumbled upon a rather cheesy way you can take her out, and I cannot believe that this is in Elden Ring, because this is the exact same thing that is in Dark Souls 2. Okay, it's not the exact same thing as in Dark Souls 2, because in Elden Ring you are able to sneak up on the black knife assassin, backstab her, run back to the elevator while she's following you. Then you can simply just wait for her to respawn, then you can run back out, sneak up on her, rinse and repeat. Or you can just stand on the elevator itself and fight her, because while you're on the elevator, she will not go in to attack you. Sure, she will attack around the elevator, but not on the elevator itself. So you can use the columns to cover yourself from the weapon arts and take her out. And like I said, if she respawns, you can simply run out and backstab her again to bring her right into the elevator. Easy as that. After dealing with that, I went exploring and I ran into the best waifu in the entire game.
For a Christmas present?
Well, okay. She told me to come to Volcano Manor, so that's exactly where I went. Excuse me, lady. I thought it would be such a good idea to get to Volcano Manor. I thought I was so clever about this. But I'm not allowed to loot anything, so I can't pick up the letters, I can't do any quest. But I thought to myself, why not run through the manor and then get to Rykard, right? Wrong. You picked the wrong house! You picked the wrong! You picked the wrong! You picked the wrong house! And all I wanted to do was just to get a Christmas present from Rhea. Anyway, if you also think it's stupid that I ran to Volcano Manor, then don't worry, I have facepalmed myself so hard that I actually lost brain cells. What a fool I am, to believe that I would be getting a Christmas present at the Volcano Manor. I got quite angry and took my frustrations out on the Godskin Apostle. Remember in the beginning when I told you that you're only able to purchase smithing stones 1 and 2? Yeah, even if I were to use the twin blade, I'd still only be able to upgrade it to +6. And that's not very helpful at all. And the same goes for the seals, they are still only +6 and will not get upgraded any higher.
You're a fucking choir boy compared to me! A choir boy!
Hey, jeez, I'm sorry. I wanted to try out the weapon art for the Black Blade. So, I picked this Earth Tree avatar in Weeping Peninsula, and I know he's low level, but I have never used the Black Blade before. And yeah, I basically just mauled him. Not just because of the Black Blade, but because of what I had in general, and like I said, he's low level, so yeah. It was fun though. He just have a funny mask and then he's pointing at the Earth Tree.
Thank you for telling me. Here is 2 bits. You are but a choir boy, I want my bits back.
Thank you, Dark Souls.
And since I'm already at Altus Plateau, I figured I might as well take down the Draconic Tree Sentinel. That way I won't have to deal with him later. So at this point in the game, I have allocated all my Crimson Flasks to be Mana Flasks. Because at this point in the game, Great Heal is more or less on par with the Crimson Flask. It might actually be a tiny bit better, despite the bad scaling I have on my seal. So I think it's better to only have Mana Flasks and use Great Heal instead. But before I press on with my journey, I have to go get some stuff. So first off, I completely mauled this guy with only the bestest of the boys. Then I met up with old Albus who gave me half a medallion. Then I proceeded to encounter one of the most wonderful NPCs in this game, Gretina, and she is arguably just as wonderful as Rhea. And the Cerulean Amber medallion was just an added bonus. I know it's nothing to write home about, but it's nice to get another talisman at least. This is how effective the Great Heal is as of now. What the fuck?
I will send you to Jesus.
Obviously she's gonna be fine, it was just a spirit ashes. I went down here because I want... Hang on 1 second, that's the doorbell to my jail cell. Let's see, do I have any footage? Here, be right back. Why do these jail cells even have doorbells? What's the point?
Listen, fat exile. Rani wants you to do something for her. As you may or may not know, tonight it's the award show for Miss Lands Between, and she wants you to make the announcement.
No, I'm not gonna do it, okay? She shot and kidnapped me. So tell Rani...
Listen! Do you really want to get shot again? Rani's the only one with a loaded gun, so listen. Rani really wants to see the world burn, and she needs you to light that fire.
What? Why? Why does she want to do this?
You don't need to worry about that. What you need to worry about is if you don't do this for her, she's gonna come down here with a loaded gun and shoot you again.
The fuck?
So I highly suggest that you go out on the stage, tell a couple of jokes, and then you make the announcement. You got it?
For fuck's sake. And so I said, I think Nepheli is the equivalent of a 2-star waifu by Genshin Impact standards.
Daughters.
Name out your fucking mouth!
I didn't mean it, it was just... Let's get back on track, alright? I summoned Nepheli to help me take down the Omen Killer in order to progress a quest line. I had no idea whether or not you're supposed to summon her for this fight, but you know how From Software can be with their quests. So I thought, better safe than sorry, and she absolutely kicked his ass while I was struggling with a dog. I proceeded to take down the Tibia Marinas, the one in Liurnia After Lakes and the one in Altus Plateau, because they award death runes. And that's exactly what I need. Just 2 more and I can get Bestial Vitality, and that's the spell I mentioned earlier that I really wanted to get my hands on.
Oh, yes!
I also picked up the Assassin's Crimson Dagger to gain more sustainability. And of course I finally got my hands on the Stone Miner's Bell Bearing number 1. That way I'm able to purchase Smithing Stones 1 and 2. So now I can finally get my seal to +6. I also thought I could get the Golden Bow as of Warp, but it turns out I can't have that kind of luxury. So I proceeded to meet up with Vare, because when you progress his questline far enough, you're able to invade Magnus the Beastclaw, who was added into the game in patch 1.07, and he drops a Somber Smithing Stone 6. I have no idea how invasion works in this game. But I know that when you spend the 3 festering bloody fingers, you can return to Vare and progress his questline, and through that you will actually get the bloody finger. And when you get the bloody finger, you are actually able to invade Magnus the Beastclaw an unlimited amount of times. I had no idea, but yeah, if you didn't know, now you know. At least that's what happened to me. I didn't have any festering bloody fingers left. I only had the bloody finger, and I had no problem invading Magnus at all. He also grants you the Pure Blood Knight's medal, which grants you access to Mogwin's palace, and I'm definitely not opposed to that. I gained a few levels while I was there, and then I returned to Mount Gelmir, where I got Cometa Super, which I will never ever be able to use anyway. But more importantly, the boss here drops a memory stone, and I really need a memory stone.
Thank you,
With
Dark
4 memory
Souls.
stones, I'm able to use 2 healing spells and 2 offensive spells, and it will become very, very handy. This is the last thing I remember before everything turned dark.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Fuck you! What the Are you fucking serious? Fucking piece of shit! Oh, you took me fucking harder, Daddy! Why don't you? I like how you're able to just fucking roll for 60 fucking hours straight! I think now might be a good time to actually consider upgrading my Spirit Ashes. But I'll only be able to upgrade them to +3. And unfortunately I'm only able to upgrade with the Grave Glove Wards. The Ghost Glove Wards will not be available throughout this entire run. And I don't have access to the Glove Ward Picker spell bearing 2 as it's found in Mountaintops of the Giants. Fill my ass with broken glass. Okay, Fat Exile, come on, you can do this, you can fucking do this. Just remember what your dad told you when you were a kid.
Go kill yourself. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You would be better off dead.
Those were the last words I ever heard from my dad. Finally taking down the Godskin Noble should have made me feel so happy, right? Well, this was my reaction. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you! Truly, the sound of accomplishment. As if that wasn't bad enough. Just wait till you see what happens next. I had my head so far up my own asshole that I completely forgot you have to pick up the weapon inside Rykard's arena. Fuck me. So that means that there's only one other shard bearer I can go out to kill to gain access to the capital. Unfortunately, it's a way better boss fight than the fucking Godskin Noble. Please, 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 let me help you, please. Shit! I'm not gonna sit here and pout over the fact I can't take down Rykard with the Serpent Hunter. Or the fact that I took down the Godskin Noble for no reason. Because I've already done that. For 2 days, while I edited this. But unlike the Godskin Noble, Radahn on the other hand is a really fun fight, whom I generally enjoy fighting. And for him, I simply made good use of Dragon Maw, Rotten Breath, the Black Blade, Great Heal of course, Bloodhound Step, obviously. And then I summoned some of the NPCs to help me out. For some reason, my recordings had some skips in them, as you will see here during Radahn's fight. I have no idea why this has happened. Maybe it's because I'm low on storage space and that's why some of the recordings becomes messed up. But it's simply the recording that has done this. I do apologize for it, and unfortunately it will happen again later in the video. It's not game breaking, but it is slightly annoying. I did however lose out on some footage that got completely ruined and it won't be included in this video. It sucks a lot, and unfortunately I only noticed this when it was too late. And towards the end of the video I'll also show you what I mean by ruined footage. And Radahn killed every single NPC I had summoned except for Blight. Because Radahn knows that a good boy does not deserve death. What a chat. Here's something you might not know, but there's actually only 2 teardrop scarabs in the entire game that drop Somber Smithing Stones 5. And the one is in Altos Plateau and the other one is in Nokron. So, beating Radahn was actually really useful because I can get down there and have access to the other one if that's gonna be necessary. Which is really good. But also kind of scary, right, that I only have 2 Somber Smithing Stones 5. So I have to pick the weapons I want to upgrade very carefully. And I think I have. I went to Gale Tunnel to get the Moonveil sword. And even though it's a nasty weapon, even with the Somber Smithing Stone I just got, I can only upgrade it to +5. So far. But that'll soon enough change. Because in the capital city I have access to the Shunning Grounds. And down there are 2 teardrop scarabs. One drops a Somber Smithing Stone 6 and the other one drops a 7. And what's more is, in the main street of the capital city an Erdtree avatar spawns, pretty close to the Avenue Balcony side of Grace. And he gives you a Lord's Rune when you defeat him, which is worth 50k, so that's also really awesome to get. How the hell did Mo get through here? And in case you were wondering, here's a quick overview of my stats so far. Down in the sewers I drop off this ledge because below me is a teardrop scarab who drops a Somber Smithing Stone 6. And at the bottom of the sewers, mainly near Lanedale Catacombs and where the lobster spawns, there's a teardrop scarab who drops Somber Smithing Stone 7. And as you can see on the screen right now, I'm still not picking up anything, but hey, who'd want to loot anything down here anyway? At least it's cleaner down here than in the Godskin Duo's arena, if you catch my drift. So it's a good thing I'm only down here for the teardrop scarab.
This is grosser than being touched by Radagon!
After I got Somber Smithing Stone 7, I traveled to Caelid, mainly Dragon Barrow near the Divine Tower, because there is a teardrop scarab here who drops the Somber Smithing Stone 8.
But I'm not done yet.
Remember back at the beginning of the video when I said I traveled to Caelid, grabbed this side of Grace, I will come back to it later. Yeah, that's now, and to the west of the Grace there is another teardrop scarab, but it drops a somber smithing stone 9, and that will be as high as my weapon go for the remaining of this run, because I cannot get to the consecrated snowfield, because Ranni won't let me use the skip, so I won't be able to finish Letana's quest or get to the invader there. But despite me not being able to fully upgrade my weapon, currently it is a +9 and the damage is pretty good. Just know that it is very short-lived, but for the time being it's really decent. The only issue I had with Godfrey was whenever I tried to use Great Heal, he would use an overhead attack, and usually he would hit me. And since some of my attacks have some space in between them, I guess that's why I never got him staggered. Other than that, he wasn't that much of an issue. And like I said, the Moonveil is a nasty weapon. If you were to do a run like this, which weapon would you prefer to use? Leave your answers in the comments below. But after defeating the Shade of Godfrey, I ran straight up to Morgoth.
What is this? I didn't know the fire giant's shit was able to walk.
What the hell? I had no idea the Prawling Magus would be here without his congregation. You hear that, Morgoth? You're not the only one who are able to tell really bad jokes. I died a couple of times to Morgoth. Fortunately, he's not a roadblock or anything. I just summoned the jellyfish to help me, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that even at +3, the jellyfish is surprisingly tanky. I have, since I noticed this, relogged into a high-level character, upgraded the jellyfish to +10, and then I have fought various bosses, and let me tell you, the jellyfish gets surprisingly beefy when it's fully upgraded. Anyway, Morgoth went down pretty easy, because the jellyfish can poison, I have Rotten Breath and Dragon Maw. So, even if I couldn't attack him, I'd still only have to wait him out. Not really that difficult. And with Morgoth out of the way, I can finally leave the capital city if I want to. But, there's still one other boss I want to take down first. And the final boss I'm gonna take out before I leave the capital will be the Fell Twins. As I was editing this video, I stumbled upon another one of these skips in my recordings. I still have no idea why. Maybe it's because my PS4 is getting old and weary, but I do apologize for it. Again, it actually also happened during my fight with Radagon and Elden Beast. Which, yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. But I wanted to take down the Fell Twins while I was in the capital, because they dropped the Omen Killer Rollo Ashes. And I thought, sure, why not try it? I have never used him before, but I have heard a lot of good things about him. So I thought, sure, why not give it a try? But what I didn't realize at the time is the fact that Omen Killer Rollo's Spirit Ashes is upgraded with Ghost Club wards, which are the ones I don't have access to at all, and that will definitely come back to bite me in the ass later on. But now I'll finally leave the capital and head towards mountaintops of the giants. It's beginning to look a lot. Stop! Right. Recently I said that my damage was really good, but it would be short-lived, and it's game over for it now. Everything from here on out is basically just downhill. My damage, this journey, the enjoyment of boss fights, my sanity, the overall quality of the game, it's just all downhill. It was fun while it lasted. Unfortunately, the fun won't last. Because from this point onward, everything gets increasingly more infuriating. Don't get me wrong, with the proper setup and the right gear you can absolutely destroy all the remaining bosses until you finish the game. Unfortunately, that is not the case for me. I am truly gonna need a miracle in order for me to complete this journey. But that's enough rambling for now. Back to my journey. And at this point I experienced something I never even took into account. And that's the fact, if Torrent dies, I cannot get him back because I only have mana flasks. Or you know, at least until I find a site of grace. But I never even thought about it. That thought just didn't occur to me until this happened. Fortunately, from where this happened, there is a church not far from here. The good thing is, there is a site of grace so I can get Torrent back. That's the most important part. But after that I basically just ran straight up to the fire giant and got my ass handed to me. While I was getting my cheeks clapped, I came to the realization that I have never even thought about taking down an ulcerated tree spirit. And some of those drops golden seeds. So with that I could actually gain some more charges to my mana flasks. And the most ironic part about all of this is the first one of these also rated tree spirits I took down, the one in Fringe Folk Hero Grave, was actually the worst one, simply because of the arena. I've heard people complain about this boss in the arena before, and I completely agree with that statement, because this arena with this boss is just... But not only that, I also picked up the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation, because I use Rotten Breath, and it would be nice at least to gain some more damage whenever it procs. Especially from this point and onward. Plus, I get to test out Omen Killer Rollo for myself and see how awesome he actually is, despite him being unupgraded. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised when I noticed that Omen Killer Rollo is actually able to proc Bleed. And his damage is decent for an unupgraded Spirit Ash. So while Rollo and I are dealing with the boss in the background, I'd like to show you something that genuinely would make Dark Souls 2 really proud. Just watch this. Did you catch it? Let me slow down the footage for you so you can see it one more time. He kills me before he even hits me.
I am here to scare you!
All of this just works.
Back to the video. And then the fire giant did something I have never seen him do before. I know he can spew fire out of his mouth in his second phase, but I have never seen him shoot it directly at somebody. Only on the ground when you're like around his legs or around his arms or hands or his torso. I have never seen him shoot it straight out directly at another player. So that was fun. But I returned to Round Table Hole and something absolutely amazing happened. I can buy the Flask of Wondrous Physics. I can fucking
Ask
buy
not if you can wipe your butt for your country. Ask your country to wipe your butt for you.
Being able to purchase the Flask of Wondrous Physics was such an unexpected nice surprise, especially since I'd taken down the Earth Tree Avatar in the Whipping Peninsula. Because the bubble tears you get from that guy is actually decent, one of them is at least. But, back on track, I still need to take down 2 other ulcerated tree spirits to get the remaining 2 golden seeds that I'm after. And I start off with the one in Altus Plateau, because it's definitely higher level than the other one in Stormvale Castle, and it would be nice to just get it out of the way. And it's so weird, like I said with the first one in Fringe Folk Hero Grave, right? Because the one in Altus Plateau has an open area, it's so much easier to deal with, despite the leveling difference between the one in Fringe Folk and the one in Altus Plateau. 7 flash charges, let's go baby! And then I'm gonna kick the fire giant's ass. Prepare to die, but fuck. I don't think the fire giant in itself is a difficult boss fight. The camera, however, is a different story. A very, very different story. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I spent 3 or 4 hours trying to take down the fire giant. But because of the camera, I kept on being murdered over and over and over again. I thought about summoning other people to help me, but I just felt with the health and resistance increases to bosses, for the fire giant it might not be the best idea, but with perseverance, determination and a bit of insanity, I finally managed to take him down. What a giant pain in the ass. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was what a fire giant pain in the ass. But no matter how much of a pain in the ass the fire giant is, he will never be as much of a pain in the ass as the next boss. And that's including shoving him up your butt.
Your time has come, exile.
And we're finally here. The boss I dreaded the most throughout this entire run. Seriously, fuck the... Have you ever been so frustrated with a boss fight that you've made this sound? And this is also the first time I've ever given the Feli this potion. But from the ashes rises the phoenix. Sort of. All that, and it's Ghost Glove Wards? Ghost Glove Wards?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Piss me in my fucking ear. I returned to Volcano Manor and finally found the guy who had my Christmas present. He had just been keeping it the whole time, and he refused to give it to me, so I took it by force. Then I returned to Mount Gelmir so I could settle the score with Magnus the Beastclaw once and for all. That way I also gained some material so I can upgrade my newly found Christmas present, namely the pizza cutter. I also went back to Morgwyn's palace to farm some levels so I'm able to use the pizza cutter. In regards to the Somber Smithing Stone 7 and 8, I got them from teardrop scarabs that are in mountaintops of the giants. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of it with the main character of this run, so instead I have made a recreation for you so you can see where I found them. So with the pizza cutter at +8, Dolores the Sleeping Arrow, and Recusant Bernhal, I was ready to face off against the Godskin duo once and for all. I'm not gonna lie, I think I spent around 8 hours just fighting the Godskin duo. Over and over and over and over, again and again and again and again and again, it's so fucking, till my skull fucking broke. For real, I ended up smacking my hand against a wall in my apartment so hard that I sprained it. It was swollen for 2 days and it's still a bit sore. I did it out of sheer anger and frustration for this sad, pathetic excuse of a disgusting, despicable boss fight. Pop quiz. A lot of people seem to be of the opinion that Elden Ring is a masterpiece. But do you know what I don't think belongs in a masterpiece? That's right, you guessed it. The Godskin duo. Congratulations, you get a Runebear Spirit Ash. Or a Mensis Cage. That reminds me, why can't we get Runebear Spirit Ashes? I feel I have to state that was a joke, because obviously I can't give you those prizes. And just so you know, out of my 8 hours of attempts of fighting against the Godskin duo, this was the first and only time Dolores managed to put one of them to sleep. You think that's funny? Well, I'm glad my suffering is amusing to you, and thank fuck she did, because dealing with the Godskin duo with no sleep sources, it's just horrendous. With the Godskin Noble asleep, we were 3 against 1, so taking down the Godskin Apostle wasn't that much of a problem. And when he died, we just healed and rebuffed. I came so close to break my own rule for this boss fight. I actually thought about picking up the Glintstone key, enter Raya Lucaria, then meet with the merchant on the eastern side. But even if I allowed myself to purchase that cookbook, I still would need to pick up St. Trina's lilies. The same goes for sleep pots. Even if I allowed myself to pick up the cookbook, I would again need St. Trina's lilies and mushrooms. So I gave up because it just felt like the more I looked into alternatives, the more complicated it actually got. Meaning that I usually had to pick more than one thing up, and that would just defeat the entire purpose of this video. I also tried summoning other players to help me with the fight, but to no avail. Anyway, back to the fight. I made great use of jumping attacks against the Godskin Noble, and I made sure to always keep an eye on him. Because you never know when he starts rolling when he's below half health. I made sure to always heal at the top of a column whenever I felt it was necessary. And again, after he was taken down, it was actually quite easy to just focus on the Godskin Apostle. After that, I took my time to heal, refill my mana and prepare for the next spawn.
Make that stupid voice again.
The fuck?
Fuck you, Godskin Noble.
Now read the following out loud.
That exile is a little bitch.
Aye! Okay, that's it. Boo! You piece of shit! What's this? It's a key. I can finally get out of my jail cell, so I'm gonna book it. But I'm still gonna tell you the rest of my story, even though the next thing I'm gonna say is really embarrassing. Towards the end of the video, you'll also be able to see I even bought a shield to deal with the Godskin duo. A shield, for crying out loud. Fuck you, Godskin duo, and let it be heard across all of the lands between.
You should die 1,000 times over.
Rarely have I ever seen so much shit in such a small room.
Hey!
Now up next, it's the Beast Clergyman and Maliketh, and I'm not a huge fan of the Beast Clergyman. But whether I like him or not, in this instance, since I have Rotten Breath, he's arguably the easiest boss in this entire playthrough. Because it's very easy to rot him, and it's also very easy to hide from him in his arena. Just do like I'm doing on the screen. Unfortunately, his second phase isn't like that at all. Maliketh would be an absolute S-tier boss fight. If this was Neo 2. But against Maliketh, there's practically no time to use Great Heal. He is so fast, he's all over the place, and his dot is not exactly helping my situation. And after dying to him about 50 times or so, I came to the realization that I had hit a roadblock, because if I reallocated my flasks, I could at least negate some of his dots, but then I wouldn't have enough mana for the rest of the fight. And if I kept my mana flasks, I wouldn't have any time to heal, because he would just kill me right where I stood. So, I summoned for help. A lot of people frown upon it, but like I said in the beginning, anything I can purchase and get my hands on are allowed to be used. So, Slave Knight Kale sells Furl Calling Finger Remedies. And yeah, I wasted most of them anyways, because Maliketh's damage output is so huge. Combine that with the fact that he gets 60% more health because I had another cooperator with me. It's just absurd. But in the end he went down. This is the only thing that works against Gideon. I like how Gideon is called the All-Knowing, and yet he don't know the range of his own spells. Because I am such a dipshit, you just know I have to point.
I remember you, ear pisser. You made a joke about my daughter and Genshin Impact. Then you gave her Primo Gems. You useless, sad simp piss sack.
I'd quickly like to mention, if you're wondering how it's possible for me to summon without the small golden effigy, just know it's simply because you only need Furl Calling Finger Remedies. I really enjoy engaging in jolly cooperation.
Enough of thy unbearable breath.
I'm just gonna start off by saying I think Godfrey is a very enjoyable boss fight. But when you're dealing with Godfrey without any Crimson Flasks, you're gonna have a bad time. And I died so much I lost count, because Godfrey felt more of a roadblock to me than Maliketh did. So I summoned 2 cooperators to help me deal with Godfrey and just be done with it, because he was still so pissed off about the joke I told about Nefeli and
Genshin Impact.
Like it was the most offensive joke he had ever heard. Never mind the fact that I also kicked your son's ass.
My son was the funniest comedian in all of the lands between. A true maverick.
I have no idea why he would say something like that.
Have you ever seen the true face of God, Exile?
Okay, so before I take on Radagon by myself, I have to tell you what really happened. Right after dealing with Godfrey, I ran straight up towards Radagon and Elden Beast, and along the way I summoned someone to help me deal with them. And if you're wondering why I would summon someone to help me on the very first attempt, there are several reasons. 1. I am one of those people who absolutely despise Radagon. More the power to you if you enjoy fighting him. 2. Since Christmas was right around the corner, I figured jolly times means jolly cooperation. 3. I have never said this was a challenge run. I have said playthrough or journey. And finally, I thought this was the Christmas miracle that I needed. And I should be so happy that now I can tell you that my adventure is over, right?
No.
But it wasn't. Instead, what I experienced that day was disappointment in myself of biblical proportions. So in order for me to cope with this disappointment, I opted for the next best thing, at least for the sake of the video.
That felt
Personally, I
good.
couldn't give a shit about Radagon and Elden Beast. They are so bad it's right up there next to Godskin Duo. And that, ladies and gentlemen, did not sit right with me. So I tried to back up my save, see how far back I was, and yeah, well...
No! Oh God! My God! No! God, please, no! No!
Please excuse me while I shoot. Yeah, I'm not fighting Godskin Duo again, not under these circumstances. So instead, I had to sacrifice another character who only needed to defeat Radagon and Elden Beast. I respected to be approximately alike to main character, and it went a little something like this. Not not bad, right? And as you can see on the screen, my alt character is 35 levels lower than my main character. I didn't want to bother with the last talisman. Sorry if it seems a bit overwhelming with all the text in such a short amount of time. I just wanted to make sure that you knew how close this character is to my main character. Also, I made sure to empty out my crimson flask every single time. This took me 6 days. 6 fucking days! Can you even fathom how tedious it gets at this point? And just to make matters worse, I had to beat Radagon and Elden Beast 3 times. Because 1. The first time I took down Radagon and Elden Beast, the fight with the Elden Beast took so long that I had no recordings of me fighting Radagon. Number 2. Earlier in my video I mentioned that some of my footage got ruined, and this is what it came out as. So yeah, that's why I had to do it over 3 times. Like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of Radagon or the Elden Beast. The only positive thing I can think of is you can quit out. But regardless of my opinion on Radagon, I've always felt he's a boss you need to treat with respect. But it turns out I was completely wrong, and you don't need to treat this boss with any respect at all. Because after dealing with Radagon for almost an entire week, I learned that you can just play into his AI and mess with him. Because Radagon will always target the most recent attacker, regardless of whether it's you, another player, or Spirit Ashes. So with a helping hand from the MVP that is the jellyfish, I timed Flames of the Redmane with his attacks. So whenever Radagon would target the jellyfish or attack it, I would simply just use Flames of the Redmane on him. And since Radagon's attacks are so delayed, it's easy to land 1 or 2 more Flames of the Redmane on him. Then I went in for a critical hit and rinsed and repeated for as long as the jellyfish was alive. And for his second phase, I simply just waited for openings where I could use Transient Moonlight on him. So despite Radagon being able to teleport and being all over the place, Elden Beast is at least a little bit more manageable. I mean, I think this is the only instance I've ever experienced where it's actually nice to see him just run away or fly away or teleport or whatever, because it gives you plenty of time to heal in. You just have to be pretty careful for some of his long-ranged attacks. Also, he has some attacks that are completely bullshit and really annoying, such as Elden Stars. But hey, like I said, Elden Beast is not more difficult than Radagon. At least not in my opinion. It's just that this back-to-back boss fight is such a fight of attrition and endurance and patience. Lots and lots of patience. And it just becomes so much more difficult when you don't have any healing flasks. But finally, after more deaths than I can count, and of course not without almost getting another brain aneurysm, I finally managed to do this.
But not for me.
Not even close. This filthy, pesky casual just took down Radagon and Elden Beast without the use of a single healing potion. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I beat Elden Ring without looting or picking up anything. And that can only mean one thing. If I can do it, so can you. And I was so exhausted after doing this. That was, hands down, the most arduous thing I've ever had to put myself through. And I have never spent this much time on another boss, ever, I think. I know there are other Elden Ring players out there who pull off way more difficult and impressive stuff than this. But then again, I'm not a challenge runner, I'm just a guy who plays video games in very stupid ways. If you are wondering why I chose to use the pizza cutter instead of the Moonveil against the Godskin duo, it's simply a matter of comfort. I don't feel too comfortable using katanas, as the last time I used katanas was when I played Dark Souls 3, and that's approximately 3 to 5 years ago. But with the pizza cutter on the other hand, I feel right at home. The only reason why I didn't use it against Radagon is because he is so fast. The same goes for Maliketh. But I just feel colossal weapons in Elden Ring are just so slow. Still, pizza cutter for the win. I genuinely thought that the Earth Tree would turn into a Christmas tree for December month, or something crazy along those lines. I had gotten so many video recommendations about patch 1.08 when it first came out, and I thought, man, From Software must really have implemented something cool in that update. And I wasn't far off, because what we've got was so much better than I had expected. Pigtails! And with a video like this, I have just ushered in an age of cringe-mess. Before I finish up my video, I wanted to show you my inventory so you can see which items I've gotten along the way. This playthrough was really interesting, and I really feel I learned a lot about Elden Ring by doing it. And I also had a lot of fun while doing it, for the most part. Granted, the latter half of Elden Ring got increasingly more infuriating than it was actually fun, but I guess that's what's to be expected when you restrict yourself this much. And I also like to say I was so sure that flipping all my healing flasks into mana flasks would be a death sentence. But it was nice to see I proved myself wrong and that it's possible to beat Elden Ring without the use of healing flasks. Or most of it anyway. But relying on great heal with a really bad seal, it is not a great deal. I can still feel the pain is too real, and I've just punched my meal. Thank you all so much. But playing Elden Ring with no healing flasks is a near lethal pain in the ass, especially since the seal I used to rely on had a really bad spell scaling, since I wasn't able to upgrade it very much. But did I get something out of this? Yes, I did. I got a swollen hand, a fractured skull, and I learned to never play through Elden Ring again without any healing flasks. Which is also my advice to you, but I wanna pass the question on to you, my dear viewer. Did you get something out of this? What would you have done different? Or did this video just make you so angry that you wanna piss on your screen? Maybe this has been the worst video you have ever seen? Leave a comment, let me know. Looking back on my video now, I can definitely see that there are better options in the beginning in terms of starting weapons, but, you know, it is what it is and I just went with what I preferred. And as a final note, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much, you're an absolute giga chat. I hope you enjoyed the video, if that's even possible. But that was my 2 cents on how you can take on Elden Ring. So I hope I can stay at Volcano Manor at least for a while. Because if you didn't know, the guard of my jail cell was Ranni's mimic tier, but it's a bootleg mimic tier she has gotten. You know, a less intelligent one and a more erratic version. A bit like a beast from Bloodborne. It has both been lashing out at Ranni and slapping me throughout this video, but they are both out on the hunt for me. But for now I think I'm safe, so long as they don't kick me out of the manor. Is that really the best way I can finish my video? Nah, here.
All's well that ends well.
Yeah, that's better. So until next time, I'm Fat Exile and I've played Elden Ring in a very stupid way. Thanks for watching.
What was that?